Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to hit a couple of things. You know, they're projecting, especially for the VA, around 70 to 80,000 layoffs. They're trying to bring us back to pre-COVID numbers. And I have some insight as to why, and to me it totally makes sense. Others might not feel that way, and it is rough because it's kind of like you're torn. You understand that it's the right thing to do, but you're being affected by it. So I'm just going to try to like reframe it and not take it personal. And my purpose here today is just to kind of help share some information. First thing is getting a checklist for getting ready to leave the government. I got this from another channel named Legal Insanity Podcast. I'm going to put a link in the description so you guys can kind of see what he's talking about, and it's more in depth. I'm going to highlight a couple of things because I work remote, so I'm not going to worry about personal effects. But I do want to focus on leave and comp time. And right now, at the annual leave, you can actually get paid a lump sum. And I don't have any comp time, but if you do, make sure, pay attention to those, because then you can actually use the government retirement benefits calculator to be able to kind of get an idea what your lump sum would be depending on the leave that you have. Sick leave is forfeited. So basically, how it works is it gets added onto your time of service. So instead of money, you get added onto time. So if you are short as far as hitting your deferred retirement or early retirement, maybe that's something that can work out. Also, this is something I've already done. Download your SF50, go into EOPF. I made a video and how to kind of put in that request to download all of your records. It takes several days depending on how long you have been with the government and how lengthy, like the number of pages that you have, since mine is over 300 pages. And also start really taking a look at not just your EOPF, but look at your like LESs, your W-2s. Make sure that everything, including your addresses, is correct. Make sure you start looking at your beneficiaries for all your benefits between your FEGLI, which is the Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, or your survivor benefits. Make sure that's up to date. Go into HR Smart. I'm not sure if that's the same with every agency, but definitely take a look at your service card. Make sure that is correct. Here, he also mentioned about making sure you have all your passwords. Think about what you can't access once you leave the government. Not everything is easy with login.gov. It's easier to get it done with your PIB. I know with EOPF, it says login.gov, but I haven't been able to successfully do that. So I do everything when I can using my PIB card. The other thing too is you can actually get a refund with your first contribution. That's not something I'm going to do, but I've also done the reduction to make sure I just hit my match for my TSP, because basically that's dollar for dollar or 3% and then 50% for like the last two. Either way, they're matching it. It's free money, so I'm not going to lose that. This is just for me with the way the economy is and the stock market. I shifted a lot of my stuff in the G fund. It's a snail's pace of growing, but I'm not losing. So I want to make sure I set that aside. And then also here, he talked about ethics rules. So if you're going to work for a contractor after you leave federal service, is there like a 1 to 2 year prohibition? It depends on your position. What did you do for the government? And then does that look like a conflict of interest or something when it comes to ethics and working for a specific contract? So that's something to kind of take a look at. Okay, so now we're switching back up to our government retirement benefits platform. But today we're going to focus on TSP. Last time we took a look at pay and leave and retirement. So just a couple of highlights. The nice thing about the TSP, when you take a look at that, it actually gives you your investment balance. So it's pretty up to date. They started moving a little bit sooner, because last time I saw that it was at 2021. So they're updating it to be a little closer to what it actually is now. and then you can see what your current allocation is and your combined balance. What I do like about this is it gives you your single life annuity. It's not very much for me, anyways, the estimated value, and then you can actually take a look at what it would be like to do a withdrawal calculator. So they do have, I didn't do in depth as far as like how to do the withdrawal calculation. I wanted to kind of go over like the withdrawal options and then taking money from your TSP account. I'm going to put the link on the description below for these documents because they're actually in the GRB platform. It gives you good information about like what it means to withdraw from your TSP and how can that affect you. So here we are at the TSP withdrawal options. Hopefully you can see this, but basically there's only two options really available. You have age-based withdrawals and then financial hardship withdrawals. So that's something you can kind of consider, especially with what we're about to go through. So again, age-based is magic number is 59 and a half. And you can make up to 4 withdrawals here for all portions of your vested account balance. You can also leave your TSP where it is. The reason I'm looking into it is maybe trying to figure out a place to roll it over. But in the meantime, I can keep it where it's at until I'm ready to figure out what that would look like for different types of like rollover accounts. My brother's a financial advisor, and he mentioned that if you are younger than 59 and a half, look for like vehicles. So mine is broken up in basically the tax referred traditional IRA and then Roth IRA. So if I want to transfer those, I have to transfer the traditional to traditional and the Roth to Roth. I can't withdraw money unless I want to get penalized, and it's like a 10% penalty for withdrawal. So really think about that if that's something that you need to do. So now here we're going to talk about the financial hardship withdrawal. So that can come only if you have a Roth IRA. And then traditional balance only, I guess it's a prorated basis and it's proportional. So you have to kind of calculate that number. But also it can be made unlimited number of times and there's no age restriction. The thing is, if you're like younger than 59 and a half, you will incur a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. So do consider that. It all depends on how much you have and what your needs are for financial hardship. So start kind of calculating all the different numbers between your TSP, your leave, like if you can get a lump sum, and then also look at unemployment. From my understanding, as federal employees, we have to file where our duty location is. So since I work remote, I have to file at the state of my duty location, not necessarily where I live. Okay. Well, this is another thing that was part of that GRB platform. It's a PDF file to kind of give you an idea on your thrift savings plan, like, installments, total and partial distributions, life annuities. What else can you do with your TSP? I'm going to add a link to these documents to the description below so you can kind of get an idea of what you want to do. Because for me, I am going to look at how do I want to roll over my TSP. Is there a better option? I know I mentioned it in a previous video before. If you are looking into a real estate investment, I mentioned it that if you look for advisors and they talk about partnering with your self-directed IRA. So if you have some portion of the down payment and some portion comes from your IRA, you can actually use both to fund your property, and then whenever you do sell it, the profits would have to be split evenly. So then this way you take a profit and then the distribution, kind of like your profit, goes back to your IRA. So that's one way that some people kind of grow their IRA besides the normal vehicle of the stock market. They can actually do those things to kind of increase their retirement. So here we have the 10 frequently asked questions regarding Vera and VSIP. Basically, that's the Voluntary Early Retirement Authority and Voluntary Separation Incentive Payment. Now, when I frame this around what was said to us by our HR chief, a couple of things. Vera has to be authorized by OPM to the agency to offer them as part of the reduction in force plan. And you have to meet certain requirements. You have to be 20 years of service and over 50 years old. Certain agencies can ask for exemption to maybe lower that age requirement. That was something that he mentioned might happen. So we're hoping for that. But if you have 20 years of service and if they lower that age, you might actually qualify for Vera. Or if you have worked for the federal government for 25 years or more. Doesn't matter what age. So that's super helpful. The VSIP, basically, that's the buyout. It's capped at 25,000, and it's not necessarily going to get 25,000, but you can get up to. It depends on the plan to get rid of that position. So if they can't get you to voluntarily retire or resign, they might give you an incentive, kind of like a little severance pay. That's why the deferred resignation program, starting next week, they're starting to allow those people to exit out up to the end of September. So that would have been your regular salary, and that would have been a lot higher than the 25,000. From my understanding, if they offered Vera, they may also offer VSIP depending on the position. If they can't get you to resign, maybe they'll do that incentive. I am going to put a link to this because there's a lot of information, and I just wanted to kind of highlight those top two things because those are the things that really stood out as far as age requirement and years of service. So I Googled it. I found the severance pay calculator. This is actually based on OPM's calculation for severance pay. Again, remember when they offered the VSIP, the cap is 25,000. So let's say, your base pay, and that doesn't include locality, is 75,000, and then you are 25 years of service, and let's say you are 43 years old. That's a nice number. So it gives you your basic severance pay, adjusted total biweekly, and then weeks of severance pay. That's the big picture, but again, the cap is 25. So with them trying to cut cost, I really don't see them getting up to that point. That would be nice, but I don't think so. Anyways, I hope that was helpful. I wanted to answer as many questions as I can, especially the TikTok people. I'm going to have to give them a link to be able to watch these videos because I really can't share my screen in that little bitty frame. Anyways, I hope you have a great night. To learn. Again, the clock is ticking, so you have to kind of prepare, look at the resources below, and start planning. All right, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.